Welcome back, everybody, to the Make Me Whole podcast. I'm your host, Josette Rosado, and today I am joined by a special guest, Tiffany Hopkins. Tiffany, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. Tiffany is a wonderful, wonderful life coach who's here talking to us about her own practice and services that she provides, but also we're talking about things that we can add to our own therapy or healing journeys. And I wanted to make sure that she was one of the guests that we spoke to. She has a lot to offer. So, Tiffany, tell us a little bit about you, what you do, and what part of healing you feel is most important to you.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure being here. So I call myself a sober health coach. So I have a health coach certification, nutrition specialist. I really try to help women who want to change their relationship with alcohol and reclaim that mind and body connection. And so, as you know, I have a license in social work as well. And that really just helps me to be able to treat the person as a whole. For so long, we're told to go to your physical health doctor for your physical health, and your mental health doctor for a mental health evaluation, and we're being treated with all these different doctors and in all these different buildings. And my hope is to really, when a woman comes to me who wants to become a better version of themselves, and with that might include changing their relationship with alcohol, then, of course, we work on changing the relationship with alcohol first. And then, as time goes on, as we're working together, we also implement, a healthy lifestyle. And what does that look like? So, yeah, my hope is just to help women become the best versions of themselves, and whatever that looks like for them.
What do you think the biggest challenges are that women are presenting?
Oh, I would say the box that society tries to put us in, and that has multiple
Oh,
layers,
yeah,
right?
we could talk about that for days.
Yes. But I think it's these high expectations that us as women are supposed to live up to. The cleaning the house, the laundry, the taking care of the kids, and oh, by the way, you should probably work and do all the things. But then you also have these expectations of when we're talking about alcohol, how society really normalizes this. And especially for moms, this is how we cope with a hard day, or work is really, really stressful, and so we need to come home and have that glass or two of wine every night. And so I think overcoming the normalization of alcohol and these high expectations that we as women and society has put on us, and on ourselves, that's the biggest obstacle that I see women presenting with.
What is the norm? Do women need to, or anyone for that matter, need to start looking a little deeper and say, oh, that this could be a problem?
Gotcha. So the way I kind of talk about, how do I know if I should get help or not, right? I ask my clients, well, how is it, or is it negatively affecting your life? So, and not just that, but if you're working towards a healthy lifestyle, there has been so much research out there that says there's no amount of alcohol that's healthy. So it's really educating people about the negative effects of alcohol. Of course, you have your the stories that people have of like hitting this rock bottom. And that might be true for some people, but in all honesty, sometimes that's not what happens. I stopped drinking alcohol because my son looked at me one day and said that I was acting funny. And I had only had maybe 3 beers. I was on vacation, but that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, as they say, and I quit because of that. I wasn't, in jail or in a hospital, thank God. But so everyone's kind of quote unquote rock bottom looks different. Maybe it's just that you're working towards a healthier lifestyle. Maybe something very bad and traumatic has happened. I also like to point out that anybody who drinks alcohol has a potential to become addicted. And this is because we are legalizing an addictive substance and putting it in a bottle, telling everyone that, this is going to solve all of our problems, and encouraging them to drink it. And so, it's a very us versus them mentality right now. Well, she has a problem with alcohol. I don't have a problem with alcohol. And so really educating people that anybody that drinks alcohol can become addicted, and you don't have to hit that rock bottom. But if you feel like, you're waking up with a hangover, or, you're deciding to stay at home and drink instead of do X, Y, and Z, maybe you've had that DUI, maybe, you're just, feeling bloated, maybe your skin is breaking out, and you're just seeing some negative effects of alcohol, then, I would definitely encourage you to reach out and explore that relationship. I don't just help people get sober or quit alcohol. We can also talk about, what does decreasing your alcohol intake look like? What does moderation look like? And we can explore those options as well.
Right, because it doesn't necessarily have to be all or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It could be about how to learn to do things in moderation.
Right. And the all or nothing mentality is what gets us in trouble.
Yes.
Right. I mean, how many times have we said, I'm going to get up and I'm going to work out 7 days a week for 1
Yes.
hour, and then the very first time we can't, which, of course is very normal. We
All
just
the
throw in the
time.
towel and say, forget it. I'm not working out. And the same thing happens, especially if you think about quitting alcohol forever. That is a very scary thought for some people. And so we need to kind of reframe that and help people understand, A, we identify what your personal goals are, but B, maybe you just try not to drink for today. It doesn't have to be, 6 months from now when I go to this wedding. How am I going to handle that? Or I have vacation coming up in summer. How am I going to handle that? Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Right. And,
Mhm.
but why don't we just try not to drink today?
I think also after, we're recording this episode in January, and I think after coming through the holidays and people having spent time with family members and friends, and a lot of people have decided, well, I'm going to have a dry January, or wow, I drank so much during December, November. I think it's important for people to be able to have that opportunity to self-evaluate. But how do they deal with family members or friends who have opinions?
Well, everybody has an opinion, don't they?
Yes, they do. Yes,
Yes.
they do.
I and that is very difficult. So I want to validate that first of all, but I run a sober support group, and in that I talk with people about things that you can say, right, to other people, because
Yeah.
when we say we're not drinking anymore, people look at us like, we're an alien or something, like, from
Hmm.
another planet. And that's because of the normalization that has happened over time. And so, there's lots of things that you can say. You can say, I'm trying dry January. You should try it. Or, I'm just no longer drinking, or I'm taking a break. You can say, I'm trying to improve my physical health. There's lots and lots of things that you can say. But what you will find is that people struggle with trying to understand that. But the other thing I kind of want people to understand is that people are watching you, right? And
Yeah.
so you may not know that. You may feel very judged in the beginning, but what will happen over time is they will start seeing you flourish, and they will start seeing you get active, and they will start seeing you lose weight and feel good and be in a good mood and be present, and they're going to want what you have. and they're going to come to you later and they're going to say, by the way, I remember you said you quit drinking. How did you do that? And so in a sense, I tell my clients that we have this superpower, that people are going to want, and they're going to finally start asking, how did you quit alcohol? And maybe I can try that too.
I wonder, do you ever work with family members of either women or women who have family members who are engaged in their own struggles with alcohol and try to help them through it more of in a supportive measure, like how to manage someone who might be struggling with alcohol addiction or with overuse of alcohol?
Yes, I do actually, because I think that's a really big, important piece. Oftentimes you find yourself in a relationship with someone who is struggling with alcohol, and, you know, it, it brings the spotlight kind of back on yourself sometimes, like, oh, am I engaging in this negative behavior with this other person?
Right,
So we explore that. First and foremost, what does your personal relationship look like with alcohol? Because if you're trying to ask someone else to quit drinking, especially if they live together, right? It's going to be extremely difficult for them to quit if you are continuing the behavior that you're asking them to not do.
right.
And so we explore your personal relationship with alcohol, but then we go on to explore, how are you supporting your partner, let's say, your family member, your friend. And then of course, that old enabling word that we don't like to use too much, but how are you actually supporting them in their behavior? And we have to do a lot of digging. That's a huge uncomfortable sometimes topic to talk about.
Right.
But yes, to answer your question, I do help on both sides, because it's sometimes, um as they say, codependent kind of relationships that end up happening. And sometimes the person who isn't necessarily struggling with alcohol doesn't understand, right? Why is my partner drinking when, they are having so many negative consequences? And so it's really about laying that foundation of education of, why is alcohol so harmful? Why do we continue to drink it, knowing that it's harmful, knowing that we have had negative consequences? And so it's about, teaching people, how your brain chemistry works in that, and the habits that we form, and how difficult they are to break.
Okay. Without giving away too many of your trade secrets, what are some of the tools that you give your clients for that empowerment that they need?
Yeah. So in my coaching packages, we kind of break it down week by week. And, one of the very first things that we talk about is obviously exploring your personal relationship with alcohol. What does that look like? It's important to lay that foundation of education I talked about, helping them to understand. Why they're doing the things they don't want to do. And I will say, I never, when someone comes to me, I never ask them to quit drinking, right away, especially because sometimes there's withdrawal symptoms we have to talk about and think about. I always encourage my clients to get an appointment with a primary care doctor and ask them, let them know what's going on, and if they have any suggestions or treatment options. That's always vitally important. But after we kind of, get through some of that, then we talk about your why, right? Why do you want to do this? And we
Right,
really outline the positive and negative effects that alcohol is having on them personally. We talk about habits. How does habits form, and how can we break this bad habit? And then we talk about, some physical health, factors, and how can we start implementing physical or healthy physical health habits, such as exercise, eating healthy, things like that. So it can be a long process. And I tell clients that's okay. And we all have missteps. And if you were to have, if your goal is to quit alcohol, then great. And it's not like a light switch we flip on, right? Like, oh, I'm just
Right.
gonna quit
Yeah.
alcohol today. Because if that was the case, I wouldn't be doing this, right? It's really, really
Mm-hmm.
difficult. And so I tell my clients, listen, if you have a misstep and you end up drinking, that's okay. In my eyes, that gives us more things to work with. We can talk about, well, what led up to the drink? What were your emotions? What were you feeling? And how can we kind of, you know, use this as a learning opportunity. So I never ever want to make anyone feel bad for drinking or anything. I talk about my personal journey with my clients, and it took me years to get sober. And so to have an expectation that people are going to come to me and just, quit drinking the second they sign up, that's not realistic. And so something else we talk about are SMART goals. What are realistic, attainable goals that you can work on, and we break it down week by week. We meet virtually, and then also people who sign up are able to email me in this. It's like a mood journal, and they will give me an update of how their day is going and maybe any obstacles that they're running into. And so we have close contact during our time together, where we can kind of talk about all of these things.
Yeah. I mean, I think what you're talking about as far as disclosing even what you've experienced for yourself is such an important part of the process with your clients. I mean, not enough people understand that that makes for a good therapeutic relationship. You can't talk what you don't know
That's right.
sometimes when it comes to what you're doing with your clients. Do you feel that that creates a better working relationship with your clients when you're able to disclose? And was that easy for you to do at the beginning of your work?
Okay, so so now I'm very confident, and I'm able to
Right,
say, like, my personal story is why I do what I do. It is it's what I'm passionate about. It's what I feel is my purpose here
hmm,
on life, or here in life. And so absolutely. I think that if you're going to come to a sober coach, you have to be with someone that understands what it's like, right? To quit drinking. And then, like, for my counseling clients, I help women who struggle with anxiety. And I have a history of anxiety and panic disorder. And so it's a great tool to have, that I can talk with my clients about my own personal experiences. It makes me normal. It makes me human. It makes me relatable. But in the beginning, I was not vulnerable out of fear, right? We're all
right,
fearful of many things. What will other people think? I was fearful of my social work license, like, oh my gosh, like, I have a history of addiction. And how is that going to affect my professional career?
right,
And so I was petrified initially to talk about it, because of all the stories we hear, right? Of all the bad things that can happen. But then I have to admit, I got turned on to Brene Brown, and she talks a lot about vulnerability and how that is, really this, superpower I talk about. And once I started sharing my story and being vulnerable, there was a fire in me. And I was just like, this is why I'm here. This is why I'm a social worker. This is why I'm a sober health coach. This is what I want to do with my life. And it's partly also because I can role model the other side, right? The other side of
right,
coming through all of those issues and problems, and realizing and showing other people, you can actually use your pain, right? And you can use your struggles to help yourself, to help your family, to help other people. And so, it's partly why I'm on your podcast. I kind of want to share it with the world now, but it didn't happen overnight, and it took me a long time to get here, but I'm really, really thankful that I'm here now.
I think it also makes it just so much more genuine because you understand it. Your clients can see that through you, and they can understand that you get what they're going through, and that you know that the journey entails certain steps that you wouldn't have them go on had you not done so yourself.
That's
So
right.
that just adds an extra step that they can see that is comparable. So I love that. And yes, social workers all the way up to Brene Brown, who happens to be a social worker herself, have
Yes.
superpowers that no one is aware of. They just don't know. We have such superpowers that and can convert into so many different, you know, things and do so many things. I just love it.
Yes.
Um, what advice would you give to someone who might be struggling with addiction and seeking this path to sobriety?
I mean, it sounds kind of so cliche, but just reach out. I
Yeah.
mean, that is the first step. That's the scariest step. That's the hardest step, in my opinion, is reaching that point where you have to say, I might need a little help with this. Being honest, that's a hard one too. But until you're honest with what's going on and sharing your story with, a trusted person like myself or a family member or a friend or an AA sponsor or, whatever your path looks like for you,
Hmm.
I think asking for help and then being honest about what's going on. Because if we continue to try to downplay our struggles or sweep it under a rug or minimize what's going on, then we're not able to really get to the root cause of, why we're doing what we're doing. And no one is really going to be able to fully help you until you just, release the truth and be vulnerable as we're talking about. It's really, really scary, but it's so vitally important.
Yeah. The work that you do isn't easy either. And so I wonder what gives you the charge behind what you do? What fuels your fire?
Oh my, I mean, I know you could probably relate to this, but it's the tiny things. It's the tiny things. It is, I have a client right now and she's in an environment, a college student, and she lives on a college campus. And that has to be one of the hardest places to quit drinking. But she has, and she, has a few months of sobriety under her
Wow.
belt. And it's just hearing the happiness that my clients have once they reach the point of understanding how much better they are feeling because of the choices that they have made to either decrease alcohol or let it go completely. And so it's just those little success stories along the way, someone that might stumble and have a few drinks, but then come back and say, I really realize I don't really want to do this anymore, and that this is,
Hmm.
not what's best for me. And just watching them get back up and try again, it's so rewarding. It is so rewarding.
And knowing how powerful that is to allow yourself to be vulnerable, to make mistakes and come back and try to recover from that. Sometimes people will deem that as weakness, but being able to do that is just, there's so much strength in that.
Oh my gosh, that's where the healing begins.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not a perfect journey. And so if you stumble and you fall and you get back up, that's what gives you the strength to continue. And I don't want this to come across the wrong way. I don't want to encourage my clients to stumble or to, encourage them to have a misstep.
Right.
But when they do, there's a part of me that's a little happy about it because I'm like, oh, well, now you have more fuel. Now you have more reasons, and now you have a little bit more motivation to change because it's a reminder of what they don't want to go back to.
Right.
Yeah, but it's
Right.
hard. And listen, another positive about, me having my own personal struggles is that there's no judgment, right? Like I do not judge for anything that you do, any choices that you make. Like, trust me, been there, done that,
Yeah.
And so that's something else that I think, those of us that help other people but have our own personal stories to share, we can really relate. And it's a non-judgmental, safe place where you can come, be yourself, say all the things of, all the things that you've ever done. And it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, just that human side that we all have to realize no one's got it figured out. We're trying to figure it out along the way.
That's
Absolutely.
right. Yeah.
Mm. So where can people find you?
Yeah. So my website is Mind and Body Restoration LLC.com. So you can go there. You can read all about the sober health coaching I do. There's a contact form on my website. If you're interested in services, you can just submit a contact form and I'll reach out.
Great. And we're going to be sure to leave that information on the description of the podcast episode. So if anybody wants to reach the information there, please feel free to do so. Tiffany, this has been so helpful to so many, I'm sure. And the work you do is so important. And I'm always so excited to talk to another social worker doing the things out there and getting it done. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us here and share your work with our listeners. I hope you keep doing what you're doing and that we see you back here sometime soon.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, guys, it's another episode of Make Me Whole. I hope to see you on the next one and have a great day from here.